Hey everyone, it's Tracy. I'll be constructing a chipboard box covered in our beautiful Sirio Vino cardstock. It's perfect for Halloween. This box is complete with a magnetic closure and is perfect for storing A2 cards and envelopes. It will measure 5 by 6. I love how it resembles a cigar box, and the supplies and video can be adjusted to suit any size box. Now again, I'm going to be using Sirio Vino paper, 8.5 by 11. I usually love 100-pound paper, but for this project, I think 80 pounds best, but 100-pound will do. I have cut 4 chipboard pieces to start, 2 that are 2 by 6 and 2 that are 2 by 5. I then cut 3 pieces of Sirio cardstock, measuring 3 by 11, 2 of them, and then one measuring 3 by 4. And we're going to go ahead and put those together. Before we do that, we need to score. Let me grab my scoreboard. And what we're going to do is score these portrait at a 1/2 inch on both sides. So at a 1/2 inch and at 2.5 inches. And we'll do that to both the long strips. And then same thing with the small strip. Again, at 1/2 and 2.5 inches. Then grabbing 1-inch score tape, because I find this to be the easiest. What we're going to do is take the first piece of cardstock and put 1 inch of score tape, and then take that second piece and apply it to the top. If you're doing it the way I do it, you have to trim your score tape. I like to align it on my grid because I find it to be easier to get a straight line. And then just repeating this process with our 3 by 4 cardstock panel. Just again, putting down the score tape, 1 inch. I'm going to use my grid. And attaching the 3 by 4 piece right on top. And then cleaning up my edges there. Next step is to use our bone folder to fold up those score lines, fold up those margins that we created. Those 1/2 inch margins on the top and bottom. And then I noticed I forgot to do one of the scores, so we're going to just do that quickly. We need to score a 1/2 inch on the left-hand side of our panel. And that's our flat to hold in our chipboard. So what I'm going to do is align the chipboard so there's 5-inch panels and 6-inch panels. And I'm going to line 1 6-inch panel, then 1 5-inch panel, then 1 6-inch panel, then 1 5-inch panel. And we're going to adhere these down within this strip. Again, alternating 6-inch, 5-inch, you could do 5-inch. You're going to need magnetic discs for your closure. I'm using basic gray small magnets. And I'm going to grab out of my pack 1 plus side and 1 negative magnet. Right. And there's a sticky side on these magnets. So I'm going to put them sticky side out, as you can see. Right. And I'm going to take one of the magnets. And I'm going to adhere the sticker side to the second 6-inch chipboard panel. And that's because the magnet is on the 6-inch, the long panel. So just going to the second 6-inch panel, putting the magnet with the sticker down, right as close to the center as you can get it. And then you're going to put that magnet side down back into your cardstock. And I'm going to make a little M here so I know that's where my magnet is. Our next step is to adhere this chipboard to the cardstock. You have 2 options, liquid adhesive or dry adhesive like score tape. I'm going to use liquid. Again, I'm a messy crafter. The liquid adhesive gives me a little bit more time to align my chipboard. So I'm going to glue the first piece of chipboard down, again, right after that 1/2 inch margin and between those 2 1/2 inch margins on top. And then I'm going to show you my method to make sure the spacing is perfect based on the chipboard you're using. So for your second piece of cardstock, the 5-inch, you're going to again put on your liquid adhesive or your dry adhesive. Again, I use liquid adhesive because this is my method. What I'm going to do is take a scrap piece of chipboard or one of your other box lengths and use the piece of chipboard standing up, the depth of the chipboard, to perfectly align your chipboard pieces. So it's exactly, the spacing is exactly the depth of my chipboard. And I just, again, used a scrap piece of chipboard and held it there. Doing it again with the magnet. I don't like where I put the magnet, so I'm going to fix that. Just recentering it, making it actually center. I didn't center it at all. See, right in the center. So putting on your adhesive. Putting it down onto your cardstock while using, again, a scrap piece of your chipboard to measure the depth and the spacing between the second and third piece of chipboard. And that's how I get them perfectly spaced. So for this fourth one, I need to grab, again, a spare piece of chipboard. I'm just going to grab anything I have. Just again, making sure the depth is correct. And then adhering down the chipboard to the cardstock. You can see when we fold this, because we've left those margins between the chipboard, it's going to easily fold. And what we need to do on the right side is cut off that excess. That's where we put that 3x4 piece. We just want to trim that down so it matches the left side, so it's a 1/2 inch. Our next step is to take our scissors and cut little triangles in each of the places where the chipboard meets. So we're going to cut 3 triangles on each side. So where the first 6-inch and 5-inch chipboard panels meet, we're going to cut a triangle. And then between the 5 and the next 6, we're going to cut a triangle. All right? The part that's closest to my hand, remember, is the top of the box. This last one. They don't have to be perfect or exact. It's just going to help us fold down those tabs. And then we're going to flip it and do the same thing on the other side. Cutting our little triangles between each of the pieces of chipboard. Just going to take that bone folder and smooth that out. Just so you see, we're going to have those nice walls of our box. And just this last one here. Trying to do it backwards and overhand, didn't work. All right. And then we want to trim on a diagonal the corners of both sides where those tabs are. So we're just cutting off, just triangle again so we can fold in that tab really easily. So what we're going to do is fold these outside walls around a 6x5 piece of chipboard to make the bottom of our box. So grabbing a piece of chipboard, again, 5x6, 6x5, same thing. That's going to be the bottom part of our box. So what we'll do is we'll lay it in here. So the paper is on the outside of the bottom there. Okay? So before we do that though, let's go ahead and fold down the top. So remember, our magnet's towards the top of the box. It's closest to me, that's our top of the box. So the first thing we're going to do is put score tape along those top 3 panels. Those tabs, sorry. And then we're going to go ahead and remove the score tape. Did I say 3? 4. 4 panels. I can do the other one. And just use a bone folder to adhere down the tab to the chipboard. And I'm writing top here, so we know where our top is, up top of the box. And I have to do that last one over here also. I don't know why I didn't do it in the first place. Just again, adhering the score tape, removing it, and adhering down the tab to the chipboard. Then we're going to go ahead and put score tape along these bottoms, and then we'll be able to put in that bottom. So again, taking your score tape and putting a strip along all the sides of the box. And then just remove one of them. I'm going to start with the 6. And just adhere your chipboard to that 6-inch tab that we created on our cardstock. Before you do this, you want to make sure that your bottom chipboard rectangle fits within your walls. Your depth of chipboard could be slightly different than mine, so you want to make sure. You might have to trim a little, so just double check before removing the tape. Before we do the last two sides, you have two options. The right tab, you can either cut it off, or what you can do is just simply fold it into the chipboard. I'm going to cut mine, but if you want it to be neater, and I would probably recommend it after I did it, just folding it over. Then adhere your other two sides. You want to make sure that your tape is on the inside of this tab before you close down your last side. That's going to make it just a little bit neater so we don't see it on the outside of your box. So just removing the adhesive and folding over. And we're going to put a cover on the bottom of our box, so you're not going to see any of this, but right now our bottom chipboard is secure within our cardstock. So I'm just going to confirm the measurements. So 5 by 6. So I'm going to cut a piece of Vino Sirio in 5 by 6 for the bottom of this box and just adhere it using liquid adhesive. Score tape would work fine also. I'm just using liquid adhesive again because I'm pretty messy and this gives me a little bit more leeway when I make a mistake. Just grabbing my bone folder and making sure that that's secure. Now that's the inside of our box. Remember, we have a magnet on the inside. I'll just make sure that's adhered. So we have a magnet there, and remember we had the other piece of our magnet. We're going to just put it on the front of our box there to remind us that that's going to be our front. So eventually we'll stick that flap onto that magnet. That'll remind us. Looks pretty good. Now we want to cover the inside of the box. I need a piece of Sirio Vino cardstock, 4 15/16 by 5 15/16. And then we're just going to adhere that, put it in the bottom of the box, and use our bone folder to make sure it is secure. Next, we're going to cut cardstock for the box sides. We're going to need two pieces that are 1 inch by 15/16 by 5 15/16, and then two more pieces that are 1 by 15/16 by 4 by 15/16. So just a 1/16 of an inch shorter than the dimensions of our box. And we're just going to make sure they fit first, and then I'm going to adhere them with liquid adhesive. And just repeating this process for all the sides of the box till our entire inside of our box is covered with our beautiful cardstock. I just love this color for Halloween. It's so pretty. It matches the color of my car too. Just making sure that's secure, cleaning up my edges. So our box has a flip up magnetic hinge. So we need to create a hinge system for the top of our box to secure it. So again, so here's our front, and then that's our hinge in the back, and there's a hinge that's on that front of that box too. So the first thing we're gonna do is get our chipboard pieces ready. And again, this is 1 6 1/8 by 5 1/8 for the top of the box. You may need to adjust it, as well as a box flap that measures 6 1/8 by 1 1/4. And I'm just going to trim the two corners of my box flap. And I want to cut 2 pieces of Sirio cardstock to be 1.5 inches by 6 1/8. And we're going to score those portrait at 3/4 of an inch. So again, these are the hinges. 1.5 by 6 1/8, scoring portrait at 3/4 of an inch. And what we're going to do is first start on the back of our box. We're going to attach one of these hinges, after I fold it, to the back side of the chipboard. So we're going to make sure that that aligns flush when we go ahead and glue it, or I'm going to use score tape for this. So just applying score tape to both sides of the hinge. And I picked too short of a score tape, so I'm going to kind of put another piece there. I'm not right in the center. There's a little space in the middle so I don't get stuck on my box. And then I'm just going to adhere that one side of the hinge to the chipboard on that 6 1/8 side. Just take a bone folder, make sure that's secure. So that's going to lay right there. So we got to, again, make sure there's enough score tape on that other side of the hinge. Make sure it lines up. You see how mine's a little too long in the front? So I might need to trim that off. I'm just going to take a smidge off there because I want both sides to be flush with my box sides. So just make it slightly smaller. And then still working on that first hinge for the back. Want to peel off that score tape we put on. Gonna add a little more. Again, I used too small of score tape. And make sure that that back hinge aligns perfectly with the back of the box. And just press that down. You can see that that creates our back hinge, right? Now, taking our second hinge, folding it in half. Same thing, we're going to put score tape on both sides because we're going to go ahead and attach the flap. And it'll look like that. So score tape, both sides again. Leaving that middle open. You don't want to have score tape on your score. Because remember, it's going to open and close. You don't want anything to stick. I got the right score tape now. I'm removing one side. I'm going to attach that to my chipboard. As neatly as possible. Hold it down. And then I'm going to adhere the other side of that hinge to my chipboard flap. Removing the score tape, lining it up. Cool. And then the next thing we're going to do is remove that sticker from our magnet and close our box flap. And then in theory, this magnet should stick to our flap. And I know it's in the perfect position then. So when we cover that with paper, it'll be great. So now we just need to cover the front flaps, the inside, and the top cover. Let's do the top cover first. Your cardstock is going to measure 6 1/8 by 5 1/8 for the outside top. I'm just going to adhere that with liquid adhesive if my glue works. Just sticking that down and making sure it's secure with my bone folder and in the right position. We're going to need to do the inside as well. That's going to measure 6 1/16 by 5 1/16 your cardstock. All these measurements are in the cutting guide, and you're going to go ahead and adhere that. And make sure it's down with your bone folder and in the right position. And finally, we just have to do the flaps. You're going to cut 2 pieces of that Vino cardstock, 1 3/16 by 6 1/8. And we're going to round the corners at the bottom using our corner chomper, and then adhere that with liquid adhesive. That looks good. Get my glue. And try and be on camera. And then the same thing with the inside piece. We're going to want to chomp those bottom corners and adhere that with liquid adhesive. And we just want to make sure it's really secure by that magnet. So just you want to grab your bone folder and make sure the cardstock is pushed down. There's going to be a bump because of the magnet, but that's okay. Making sure to really make sure that cardstock is adhered by that magnet. You're going to have a bump. It's fine. And that's it. You have an opening and closing magnetic box made out of chipboard and cardstock that you can decorate any way you want. Here's one that I have decorated for Halloween. Pumpkins and witches, and inside there's goblins and witches and spider webs. Show us what you made. I'd love to see your boxes, and if you do any resizing, definitely let us know. This box is perfect for storing cards. I'm going to grab some A2 cards and envelopes. You can see these easily fit in our box, so perfect for gift giving. And that's it. Thanks for joining me, you guys. Bye-bye.